Hey, it is 12 noon on Friday, which means it's time for this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm Jon Carissimo. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. Every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, we come to you live to help you mastermind to grow your real estate business. And today we're talking about a popular topic of a team. You know, everyone in real estate starts out just as one single person. And sometimes you go join a team right away, but then other times you end up finding that you're working independently, but you want to grow and increase. And look, I want to tell you from day one, you're working on a team. You might just not know it. But now, how do we expand that team? So everyone in real estate is on a team. Everyone in real estate is on a team. We're going to talk about that and talk about that structure and how you take what it is that you're already doing and now expand that even further. So we've got a great show for you today. I'm really excited to bring it to you. I'm Jon Carissimo. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate, and you're watching State of Real Estate.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. This is a live show. I'm actually loading up our chats right now. So if you have questions about any of these topics, drop that in the comments section here, and we'll be glad to answer your questions live on the air. Maybe you don't have a question. Maybe you just want to give us a shout out to, give yourself a shout out. Drop it in the comments there because we'd love to hear from you. We really appreciate all you guys tuning into these weekly live streams. We do this for you guys. There's a lot more cost-effective, efficient ways for us to market. We want to put information out there that's going to help you grow your real estate business because our success is based on your success. We know if we help you become successful, you'll help us become successful as well. So that's the whole point of what we're doing today here on State of Real Estate is every Friday. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button so that way you don't miss any episodes. But let's go ahead and bring out the old whiteboard here. So when we started the show, I mentioned that you're already part of a team. Everyone in real estate has a team. Now, there's going to be varying degrees of this team. Now, even if you just got your license, you haven't registered with a broker yet or anything like that, you still have a team. Hopefully you have a team. If you took the classes with Tampa School of Real Estate or maybe got some of our exam prep tools, we're on your team. We're here to help you. And look, even if you haven't, we're still on your team. We're here doing these videos every week because we're on your team. We're here to help train you. We're your trainer. So that's part of your team. So trainer/school. So you've got that part of your team. Now, when you go to practice real estate, you've got your broker on your team. Now, these people, as we flesh out who's already on your team and we talk about expanding this team even further, now the things that the school does, you're maybe not qualified to do them or you don't know how to do them. The things your broker does, maybe not qualified, maybe not competent enough to do them. Maybe you just don't know what the broker does. That's why you have them in the role. Maybe it's because they're required. Having the school for pre-licensing, that's a requirement. Having a broker, that's a requirement to practice real estate. So you're adding these people and these entities onto your team because you have to. Now, who else is going to be on your team? Well, any sort of support staff at the brokerage. I'm just going to put that right underneath the broker support staff. So whoever it is that they have to support you or anything like that, that's part of your team. Now, when we start talking about closing transactions, let's just talk right about the title company at first. Maybe it's an attorney you're using. So you've got your title company or attorney, they're on your team. So, that's not my job to handle the closing of the transaction. Yeah, you're right. But let me ask you this. Are you going to get paid if that transaction doesn't close? Well, no, I'm not going to get paid if the transaction doesn't close. All right then, so they're part of your team. You're maybe not directly responsible for them, or maybe you don't have the influence that you would normally have with, let's say, an employee or something like that. But this is part of your team. Unless you're doing this completely all yourself, which that's impossible. There's no real estate agents out there who teach themselves the course and are their own broker and close transactions. It's ridiculous. But a lot of people don't look at these people as part of your team. And who are you? What is it that you do? Well, you're the center of your universe. You're your coach. You're the coach of this team. So, you're giving direction to the title company. And you might have said, well, John, I've talked to title companies before and I tried to tell them to do something and they refused to do it. Well, has somebody with authority over you ever told you that actually does have authority over you, where you've told them to do something and they've still refused to do it, that you still refused to do it just because maybe you didn't like them, you didn't like the way they asked, but even though they're that authoritative figure, you still didn't do it? Hey, look, you've got to be smart about how it is that you're managing your team. I mean, we could go on and on. You guys are getting the idea here. We have the mortgage loan originators. We have the inspectors, appraisers. All of these people, these are all part of your team. So you might not already know that you already do have a real estate team. You have a group of people working towards a common goal. That is the exact definition of what a team is. A collective group of people working towards a common goal. As a school, we want you guys to close transactions, because if you don't, you're probably not going to stick around in real estate, and you're going to, talk bad about us because you're like, oh, no, they told me real estate would be great, and it wasn't great. We don't want that. We want you to be successful in real estate, so you tell all your friends and family how great it is. So we're going to do everything it is that we can help you to accomplish that. So we've got a vested interest in you closing transactions. Your broker, they want you closing transactions. Look, even in those 100% split brokerages where you get to keep all of your commission and you just pay a monthly fee, there's probably still a transaction fee where every time a transaction closes, that broker's getting a little extra money to the bottom line. But a typical type of situation with a new agent is where there's a much larger split, where that's 10, 20, 30, 40% of the commission going to the brokerage. So they're working towards that same goal. They want you to accomplish the same thing. The title company, I mean, they're not going to buy title insurance if they don't buy the property. The mortgage loan originator, they don't make the mortgage, they don't get paid. The inspector, maybe they're not so much on your team, but they're still part of your team, because if this inspection doesn't go through, if it doesn't show up right, now it's your job to, because, maybe in like a business, maybe it's something of like an HR department or an accounting department and some legal department, something that's telling you, hey, this is the issue here, and it's your job as the coach, the overseer, the CEO of this group of people. Because this is your transaction. Even though technically by the law it's the broker's transaction, you're the one that's in charge of this transaction and making sure everyone on your team aligns together. Now, I wanted to do this quick little segment here at the beginning to just show you how you already have a team. And you're already managing these people, bringing these people in and having them perform tasks. That's what people on a team do. Everybody has a certain job. You might not know what the title company or the loan officer does or the inspector does or anything like that. That's why you bring them in, to accomplish that part of the transaction. But now I want you guys to really think about the things that you could do, that is possible for you to do, but maybe you don't know how to do. And start thinking of how you could kind of match up these same type of roles. These are very clear and defined roles, what each of these do. Trainer in school, training you, teaching you, getting you licensed. Your brokerage, overseeing the transaction, making sure you stay compliant. The title company, doing the title search and issuing title insurance and all that type of stuff, preparing all the documentation. The mortgage loan officer, making sure they're going to qualify for the financing and keeping on top of them with that. The inspector, making sure that the buyer is going to be fully informed of everything with the property. So, again, these are all people that are on your team. But now, and this is where a lot of agents, because these roles are already defined by the real estate industry. These organizations and companies and entities and people already exist. But now when we look at a much more micro level, we've got to look at what it is that you do. So first we have to define the roles. So you've already got this team of people, but now we need to really ask that question of what is it that you do to contribute to the team, to contribute to the group effort. We know what everyone else does in a nutshell. Now what is it that we actually have to do? And we have to define that role so we could break this apart into pieces. So if I were to just very generally try to categorize most transactions and the process it is that they're to go through, it always starts with some sort of lead. You know, that's the initial contact, the initial lead. And then from the lead, appointments. And you could get more granular with this based on your business processes and whether we're dealing with a buyer, seller, maybe a property management client, maybe a renter, whatever the case may be. So, of course, this is going to need to be more granular. But look, when you're first forming a team too, I mean, you need people covering these broad categories because you're not going to decide one day, okay, well, I want to start growing a team and then just bring in 30 different people to do minuscule little parts of each transaction. No, you're going to start off with maybe one person that you're teaming up with, and they handle this big block of stuff and you handle everything else. Then maybe you bring in another person and they're now handling this other block of stuff. So let's keep further defining this, and then we'll start talking about bringing the people in to work these different parts. So the lead, the appointment, and then after appointments, our next goal ultimately is the contract, and then finally the closing, or what's often called contract to close. So these, I would say, are the four main stages of any sort of real estate transaction. It always starts out as a lead. You've got to have some sort of appointment. I mean, we're not really at the point yet for the real estate profession where, you know, there's no need to meet with somebody. This is a very people-oriented type of business, and I don't know if that will ever change no matter how much we put our faith and trust in computers. So there always needs to be an appointment. Number 3, and usually multiple appointments, is the contract. And then number 4 is getting to the closing, making sure everything goes through, the reassurance. And few things that I want to do on today's episode. I really want to flesh out some of the tasks and responsibilities that each one of these falls into. And that's what I want to start out with here. So let's talk about the lead. So there's really in this lead category a lot of different things. And this is, again, where you could branch these off as your team grows into smaller and smaller pieces because you're producing more volume. You're working with more clients, so you can now have a single person that's work on just maybe prospecting. And really, I would say maybe before prospecting is marketing. So we've got marketing, prospecting. We'll call it warming, where you're trying to warm the leads, to warm, W-A-R-M. To warm them up, to turn them into just somebody randomly that has inquired, and now warm them up to your business and your team and your processes. And I would say really final stage for that really would be setting appointment. So, and again, we could get even more granular as we start to break out these different levels of what it is that you're doing in each of these categories, in each of these general stages here. But yeah, so marketing, you first have to do something to attract people to your business. Prospecting, maybe you're not marketing directly, maybe you're going out door to door or cold calling or something like that. But look, and that's why I put the marketing as a prerequisite to that. Because if you're calling, you've got to go find some sort of list. And maybe we could categorize it in marketing. A better example of that, though, maybe you're going door to door, face to face, or something out where you're meeting people. You want to look the part. That's your marketing there. Maybe a name badge, maybe a little embroidered polo, maybe some sort of hat that's got your logo on it, or something like that, so you look the part. So marketing and prospecting, ultimately, this is getting the clients, or really finding them. I would say that's finding them initially, either through marketing or prospecting or some combination of the both. Warming them up, we're working on really educating them, I would say would be what another word we could use for this. Because we're educating them maybe not just on the home buying or the home selling process, depending on whether they're a buyer or a seller, but maybe we're also educating them on what it is that our business can do for them. Why our business is better. We're educating them why they need to use us. And it would be a mistake for them to use anyone else. So we're educating them and warming them up. And then ultimately we're setting the appointment. So pretty straightforward. We're really moving them now into that next step. Now there's a lot of responsibilities here in this lead stage. But this is an essential part. Look, you don't want to just go and say, I want to make a team. Let me just bring somebody in and, we'll figure it out. Look, if you're going to be the person that's in charge and in control of your team, you need to have clearly defined roles of, hey, this is your responsibility. These are the things it is that you need to do on a daily basis if you want to remain part of this team. And, in the very broad stages at the beginning, and ultimately after we do this exercise of breaking down what the smaller duties are out of each of these different stages here, we need to find where it is that we excel and where it is that we do not excel. Where it is that we struggle the most. And where it is that we struggle the most, look, you could try to overcome that struggling, or you could bring somebody in that excels at what it is that you struggle in. And that's really, where you want to always begin with your team. And work your way backwards. You start with what you struggle with the most, and the last thing it is that you should be replacing is what it is ultimately that you do best, but ultimately you do want to get to that stage where you're replacing yourself in this entire process, and you're now 100% overseeing this process rather than working directly in the process. Look, we're going to take a quick commercial break here, but when we come back, we're going to dive deeper into what these tasks are at these different stages for the appointments, for the contract, to working towards the closing, and then looking at that and kind of doing that self-assessment of, okay, which one of these do I need the most help in? Which one of these would I benefit from the most of having somebody that really excels at that? And so that's what we're going to cover today, and we're going to really work out building out this team initially, but this planning stage, this definition stage, this is so crucial and so essential because you need to define what these roles are so people know what it is that they need to do to contribute to that overarching, that ultimate goal it is that you're setting out to achieve. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back in less than 2 minutes. I'm Jon Carissimo. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate, and you're watching State of Real Estate.
Have you seen what's going on in Tampa?
If you're looking to get in on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106, or check us out online at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm Jon Carissimo. This show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. What we do every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time is help you mastermind to grow your real estate business. We originally started this show exclusively for our past students, but now we've opened it up to everyone that wants to tune in and become more successful, because we know if we help you become more successful, you'll help us become more successful. It's a very reciprocal type of relationship here. That's why we give out all this information and knowledge for free on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook. The best place to go to is our Success Center, tampaschool.com/success, SUCCESS. That's our Success Center. Lots of great information, videos, calculators, articles, tools, so much to find on that, and all available for free, tampaschool.com/success. But let's get right back into building out a real estate team. So your first step when you're trying to expand your business by adding, and look, this doesn't even always have to be people. You know, maybe it is that you're looking to, let's say you just started in the real estate business and you're looking for a way to get leads. Yeah, you could go out there and do door-to-door stuff or open houses and all kinds of stuff like that. And that is effective, and that would be something I'd recommend. We've got some videos if you're in that boat as a new agent trying to find new business and prospect for a new business. That's really what prospecting is. As opposed to marketing, you might bring in a company like Zillow. You know, Zillow, they're still the #1 search result whenever it is that you search for real estate for sale. And they have a really powerful system. And now, you know, they keep leaving me voicemails because I've advertised on Zillow before, and they're trying to get me back on there. But they've got new programs they've rolled out from what I've heard of that. So maybe it is worth something. And it absolutely is a way to have a profitable with immense return on investment from leads. And some of the new changes they made, it definitely seems more appealing. But I still believe there's better ways to really take full control and full ownership of that process. But again, that's how you could bring not just a person in, but an entire company, an entire organization to manage this lead generation. At least what they'd be doing is managing these two steps here. And I believe what they're doing now is also this third step of warming them up to you. Maybe not warming them up in the way it is that I would do it, but they're at least, you know, making sure that this isn't just some random person that just clicked on this that didn't know what they were doing or anything like that. So somewhat warming them up, and that's, I don't even know if they do set the appointment or if that's still done by you, but that's an example of how you could use some sort of organization to outsource this. Now, if you want my personal opinion on that, again, I wouldn't outsource this to some sort of organization. This is where I would recommend you try to excel at. Now, we're going to go through these 4 different categories, and that's where you do want to find where it is that you excel at. But look, this is where you really need to excel if you want to be able to, because this step becomes before everything else. You could almost look at this like a giant funnel. So this is where the most activity is needed. This is where the least amount of activity is needed, but still activity needed for this one here. So we're not going to forget about that. But let's get into these other things here. So the appointments, you know, this could be initially a consultation, and I always recommend starting out with a consultation, because if you don't do a consultation, you're setting yourself up for failure. And that's why you want to have this business structure laid out in advance, because if you don't have this laid out in advance, as you start to bring other people into this business, if there's no directions, if there's no instructions on how to perform these different items and to do these different things, if there's no guidelines even at the very least, then they're going to do it their own way. And they might be experimenting a little bit and not really doing the same thing over and over again once it actually works, and maybe just kind of going in there and winging it. You don't want that, and that's why you want to have some structure and formatting really for all these. So the consultation is where you'd always want to start out. Maybe if we're dealing with sellers, it's listing appointments. Buyers, we're showing property. And this is where this would ultimately branch off as we start to lay out these different responsibilities and duties for a seller versus a buyer. You know, this is going to take a lot of time here with a buyer. No matter how good it is that you are at showing homes and really narrowing down the properties to that are perfect for that buyer, you're still going to get a listing appointment in less time. I mean, maybe it takes you a couple hours on the listing appointment, and maybe you're just having to show 1 or 2 homes, but showing those 1 or 2 homes is probably going to take longer than the time it takes to get a listing contract signed. So that's, again, where you've got to structure this out. When you're dealing with showings, that's a much more time need. And once we've identified it, because that's always, you want to always identify your points of weakness and what it is you struggle with the most out of all this here, and what's really bottlenecking your business. And that's where you bring in somebody else, and then another person, you grow this even further. So that's really the appointments. And I would maybe say one other thing is kind of confirming with any one of these, with the listing or with showing properties to seller. What I mean by saying confirming, let's say you are showing properties to a buyer, that you're confirming that they like this property. They say they like it. It's like, oh, great. Well, how much do you like it? Do you like it better than that other one we looked at? If you had to choose, which one would you pick? This one or the one before that? That's confirming. That's reassuring them. It's helping counsel them and getting their thoughts out of their head and getting it there out in the open amongst everyone. Maybe you're dealing with spouses, and maybe one spouse loves it, but the other one hates it. Even if that one spouse that hates it loves their spouse more, so they don't want to say anything, they could be secretly trying to sabotage the deal if you don't get that information out. So that's where you want to have this communication, and that's the confirming process about all that there. So very important when you're going through appointments. And same thing with listings, just on a smaller scale, because there's not as much appointment on a listing. It's really just that initial appointment, maybe a few check-ins every now and then. But with the listing appointment, let's say, again, with spouses, maybe one spouse is completely sold on you and your team and what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to market the property, but the other one, they're not making eye contact with you. They've got their arms crossed. They're sitting back like this. They're showing you basically that they're not on the same page. Maybe that one spouse is the only reason why you're sitting here in front of them, so you really need to address that. And that's part of that confirming process. Confirming all the information, making sure you have all the information up front. So a very important part of the appointment process. And then we're talking about contracts. So once you've confirmed this information and everyone's on the same page, good, let's get it in writing. Let's get it now under contract. And so maybe to use some terms for this, let's say drafting the contract, then revising the contract, let's say managing addendums, making sure you've got everything, and then getting signatures. And that would be really how we would define the contracting process. Usually not as much time, I would say, unless there is a lot of negotiation. So that's why initially drafting an offer and then going back and revising this again and again and again until you do get to a deal. And we could really kind of we'll call it negotiating. Because that's really, I would say, what's going to be taking more time when you're trying to get into a contract. And that's really the skill that's required here, I would say, more than anything, is the negotiation. But why I put drafting up there as well, because maybe preparing the contracts is what you're terrible at. You're maybe great at negotiations, but you're not a detail type of person. You're not very detail oriented. And that's where even though we have these different stages here, maybe this team member it is that you're bringing on. So let's just take that for example. Maybe you're the type of person, and this is the type of person it is that I am. You know, you're maybe great at negotiation, you're maybe great at communication, but maybe you're not one for details. I'm not one for details. I mean, I try to be. Actually, I am pretty detail-oriented, but I get bogged down in the details. It slows me down. It bottlenecks me. So if you're in that same boat, starting out, maybe rather than just finding somebody to work on any one of these particular roles, because maybe you're great at all these different stages here, but maybe for setting the appointments and scheduling and calendaring and keeping track of a database and drafting up this documentation, maybe that's where you struggle. And that's where a lot of agents struggle. The agents that are able to kind of to wade their way into some success without having too much knowing what it is that they're doing. They find out that, okay, yeah, I'm great at, dealing with people, but I'm not one for paperwork. So maybe you bring somebody onto your team, and this could be somebody that is licensed. They could perform all the license duties it is that you do, or maybe you just bring somebody in that you're just going to pay some sort of hourly wage to handle this administrative work. And that's where you could go through and kind of find all the administrative work here. So, setting the appointment is something that might require some skills. But ultimately, finding that time and getting that in there, that's maybe somebody where you bring somebody in for that. Maybe the schedule, going through it, and with all these appointments, the scheduling, there's not much there that we have on the board here, but there's a lot of administrative tasks related to that. Then maybe, let's say, the drafting of these documents and the revision. And then maybe putting into the DocuSign systems or Transaction Desk or Dot Loop or whatever it is that you use for electronic signatures, or maybe you're doing it the old-fashioned way with paper and, they're curring it all over town for you. Making sure everything is together, the whole kind of management thing, that's another type of administrative task. And as you get closer towards the end here, that's where, the paperwork starts to kick in. And then this closing process, so if I were to kind of just generally categorize what it is in this kind of, contract to close, is really managing the larger team. And when I say the larger team, I mean the title companies, the mortgage loan officers, the inspectors, the appraisers, making sure everyone is doing their part and they're doing it to the best of your knowledge as the way it is that they're supposed to, and that they're being a team player, that they're helping move you towards this common goal. Now, let's say maybe I'm not saying that, do something so the inspector just ignores problems. No, if there is a problem, and that inspector doesn't find it, especially if you recommended that inspector, that's going to come back to bite you. Maybe you still get the deal closed, but then maybe afterwards you get sued if you're somehow complicit in that, or at the very least you just get all kinds of negative publicity through reviews and through however else it is that these people could spread bad words about you and bad news about you. So, managing this greater team, this larger team, what I mean there is finding out right away from the inspector, because it's not necessarily that, let's say the roof has leaks. You find out that the roof has leaks, you had no idea the roof had leaks, and the inspector just goes to your clients, roofs have leaks, I wouldn't buy this property if I were anyone. Look, it's not your job as an inspector to tell the client whether or not they should buy the property. Their job is to inspect the property and find what these issues are. And then maybe you find out how much it's going to cost. Maybe the inspector gives some sort of estimate, but who knows if that inspector is right? Maybe they're just trying to cover themselves and overestimating how much it's going to cost for some sort of repair. So if it costs if it costs less than that, they look like, I just overestimate, just so you're not having to pay extra out of pocket. They have good intentions. But look, it's the delivery of that information to your client. Your inspector should not be the one directly communicating with your client, because you are the knowledgeable professional that oversees this entire transaction, and that's where you could go over these things. And you do want to be open and honest about this. There is an issue with the roof. Now, the inspector did quote this at about a $15,000 repair, but what I'd like to do, a few different options. So number one, I'd like to get a contractor in there to get us a more exact and more specific quote, somebody that actually does roofing repairs, so we could actually verify if that is in fact $15,000. And if it is, would you still be okay purchasing this property if we get a $15,000 concession from the seller? Oh, well, yeah, of course, if the seller's going to pay for that or they're going to give us money for that, then of course we'll still buy the property. And then they get a brand new roof or a repaired roof. Whereas that inspector might have said, oh no, don't buy this property, this is the worst roof I've ever seen. Maybe it is the worst roof they've ever seen, but if it's a $15,000, $20,000 expense and you get the seller to pay for that, why wouldn't the buyer? And maybe there is a reason why the buyer would, but you ask them that. Hey, if I could get the seller to pay for this, do you still want to do the deal? Do you still want to buy the property? You do? Great. Let me go talk to the seller. That's where your job comes in, and that's how you need to manage this larger team. Maybe the mortgage officer. Maybe they're just having a bad day. Or, maybe it's just they don't have the loan programs that fit your client. There's a lot of differences between these loan officers out there. And when that loan officer, tells your client, oh, there's no way you'd ever get a mortgage, your whatever is terrible. Look, there's no way they would ever give them a mortgage, that they would be able to get them a mortgage, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there wouldn't be a mortgage loan officer that's maybe got better programs, that's maybe more motivated. Maybe there is an issue, but maybe the loan officer, another loan officer that will help them with credit counseling so they could get that remedied and fixed. Or maybe they're just a little bit more creative with the way it is that they think and how this can be resolved. So it's your job as the coach, as the CEO, to substitute in. Say, hey, look, you know what? I'm sorry they don't have a program that worked out for you, but let's go ahead and talk to this loan officer here. Because look, I'm committed to and determined to get you guys in this property. And we're not going to let just one minor detail with your financials stop you from this. And you can continue to work with them there. But again, that's how you're managing this larger team. And maybe they already had a pre-approval. Maybe they already had a pre-approval and then something came up, some issue, something arose, and now all of a sudden, okay, well, what do we do? That's where you got to get more heads together. You got to manage this larger team. So that is a little bit higher level of a skill. Again, that's required somebody who's very experienced and knowledgeable in all of this here. And that's maybe the benefit as a new agent of teaming up with somebody who is experienced and knowledgeable, because they know that if somebody says it's the end of the deal, that doesn't mean it's the end of the deal. You know how many deals it is that I've been in where I've had loan officers or inspectors or the other agents saying, oh, you know what, deal's probably off now. They're not going to be able to buy this property. They're not going to want to buy this property. You know what, it's the end of the world here, back to the drawing board. I remember one deal specifically, it was like 3 months of just a constant battle of me picking up Humpty Dumpty and putting it back together again. And that's what you're doing sometimes. It's not always that bad, but it can be. And without going through that, it's hard to predict for these unpredictable things that come up and how it is to resolve them. So that's a very higher level skill, which might be one that's difficult to outsource, to add somebody to a team to be able to take that over. But maybe you are going to team up with a more experienced agent. Maybe you're part of their team rather than you being part of your team. But look, you got to remember, you're the center of your universe. Even though you're maybe part of a team, all these people are contributing to your common goal of you making money. So you really do have that role of where you're somewhat in charge of the team. Maybe you don't have much responsibility over it, but what it is that you do will ultimately impact the outcome, no matter how small of a role it is that you play in this process. But let's get back on to building out your own team. So going through this, managing the larger team, and I would say just, really that's the bigger part, because this whole contract to close portion of this here, this is where, we have the least amount of work typically because we have all these other people. And we get the right people in here, so maybe we have a deal that just is a complete train wreck, where the loan officer, maybe they've just got something going on in their lives, or maybe they're just lazy, or whatever the case may be. Maybe on the next time around, you don't recommend that same loan officer. You maybe find somebody who's maybe a little bit more knowledgeable, or a little bit more professional, or a little bit more committed and determined. So again, that's where you're bringing these people together, because the buyers and sellers will look for your recommendations, because they're not experts in real estate. That's why they hire you in the first place. So again, this kind of drafts us out. And maybe you're hiring somebody, you're bringing somebody in to just manage these small parts of the deal. Maybe just little parts. Maybe somebody that does administrative tasks, and they're here supporting you with the leads, with the appointments, with the contract, and with the contract to close, to making sure all the administrative stuff is taken care of. That's where a lot of agents start, because there's a lot of real estate professionals out there who are not good at that administrative stuff. Maybe you excel at that, so you don't need somebody to do the administrative work. But maybe this whole appointment process here, maybe you're great at the paperwork and making sure. Maybe you're a great negotiator even, but maybe you're not the person that likes driving around showing properties to buyers. You could bring somebody in to manage and be in charge of that portion of the process. Maybe with the lead generation, you're bringing people in to prospect. to try to convert leads, to warm them up, to educate them, to say, hey, saw you're on the website here. I just wanted to give you a quick call. I'm from Jon Carissimo's team, and I just wanted to reach out to you and just find out some more details to see how we could have you better use the website, or how we could maybe send you some more accurate information, or information that's more relevant to you. Do you have just a couple seconds of time? Great. So tell me about what it is that you've done already. What is it that you've been looking at? Okay, what have you researched? And really extracting this information so you know where they're at in the process, and then saying, great, well, I'm going to get you some information sent over to you, and we've got a couple properties I think it is that you're going to be interested in. A matter of fact, what would be a good time for you to come into our office so we could go over all this information together? That whole warming them up to set an appointment. So again, you want to define these roles, and every real estate professional's business is going to be slightly different. I would say most of these things are going to apply in pretty much any real estate transaction because they're very broad, they're very generalized. And how your business differs, you might want to further define this out. Before you bring anybody in, you absolutely need to further define out what these tasks and these duties and responsibilities actually mean and how it is that they're carried out. So that's just a little bit about building a team and what this allows you to do ultimately. So fast forward to where you have this complete process. You've got people working leads, going on appointments, getting contracts, and managing. Maybe you have a transaction coordinator type of person that's managing all this stuff to the closing. So when you've got that all filled out, well, what is it that you do now? I mean, you're not part of the sales anymore. What do? Well, you've now officially moved 100% into the management and growth role, where you're trying to help your people become better at converting leads, to become better and more efficient at appointments, to become better at negotiating contracts, to refine your processes, to increase the amount that's coming in. Maybe increasing the marketing. And look, this is where it gets really exciting here, because now you're working on the business rather than working in the business. And that's really what a true business is, where you're able to work on it and grow it rather than just working in it. Because when you're just working in it, it's really more of a job. It's more of a chore, a duty, a responsibility, which that's okay. That's where we all have to start. And even when if we're still wanting to grow, even when we're in that 100% management and responsibility, we still have that job of now growing the business. So you're still going to have a job, but it's now continuing to increase this further. And so that's just a little bit about a team. And how far it is that you take this, that's up to you. How much it is, maybe you'd be happy just having somebody to handle your administrative paperwork. That's great. You're still having a team. You still have got a team. Even you working 100% on your own. Maybe you are a broker and you're just working 100% on your own. I mean, you still got title companies involved, you still have loan officers, you still have inspectors, appraisers, all these other people that are involved in the transaction, that larger team it is that you're part of. So you always have a team. It's just how much of a team it is that you have. Imagine how many transactions you'd be able to close without title companies and attorneys to close the transactions. Some of you guys out there say, I wouldn't know how to close it. Most of you probably wouldn't know how to close it without a title company and attorney. And that's the value it is that they provide. So without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. And that's you really have to kind of broaden your gaze to say, okay, well, what could be possible? What am I not able to do because I don't have a team in these different roles? So that's about a real estate team, and we could go on and on about this, but we're about out of time for today. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this is giving you some information that you're going to be able to implement right away in your business and use it for immediate growth, because that's when learning is most effective, when you're able to take the things it is that you've just learned and implement them into your business right away. You'll almost never forget things when you implement them right away like that. So if you need to rewatch this video, you go to tampaschool.com/success, tampaschool.com/success. You can rewatch this entire video about building out a team. Maybe you're interested in doing this, but maybe the brokerage it is that you're at, it's not feasible. Maybe there's already too high of a split, or maybe your broker's just really controlling and you're just fed up with that and you want to get your own broker license. Look, we've got classes to help you do that. If you've got 2 years of experience, you could become a broker yourself. Go to upgrade2broker.com so you could upgrade your real estate license to a broker license. That's upgrade2broker.com. You can also call us. Our phone number is 813-333-2676. Again, that's 813-333-2676. We're here to help you guys every step of the way. We're here for the life of your real estate career. Even if you haven't taken classes with us before, take some classes, then you'll find out why we are who we are. So that's all the time we have for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Check out the Success Center. Give us a call. Let us help you out. Check out the website, tampaschool.com, and I'll see you next week.
Have you seen what's going on in Tampa?
If you're looking to get in on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106, or check us out online at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.